Hello, and welcome to What a World podcast. In this series, we will be exploring the possibilities of transforming the inner life of the individual. The goal of these conversations is to help you and me develop the tools necessary to change ourselves as well as the world around us. I am your guide and your host, Randall Thomas. Join me as I speak with seekers of truth and transformation right now on What a World podcast. So I'm sitting here with Sifu David Stevens. He's the headmaster owner of Shaolin Concept School of Martial Arts. The school opened 13 years ago.
May 6, 2006.
Okay, in East Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
You've relocated to Hendersonville, Tennessee. Let's see. David teaches Shaolin Kung Fu, Praying Mantis Kung Fu, Kempo Karate, and Filipino martial arts.
Yep.
He is a musician, a mystic, a healer, and martial artist. He's a sixth-generation disciple of, probably going to get this wrong, Kwangsai Juklum Tonglong Pai.
Close enough. Juklum Tonglong Pai.
Okay. I'll let you say it later. And he's a fellow philosopher and seeker of knowledge.
Oh, yeah.
So welcome, and thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for
awesome.
having me, my friend.
So first of all, I guess I want to know, what got you interested in martial arts in the first place?
Well, a couple of things, actually. My dad had, horsed around martial art-wise, when I was a kid, and I believe there was probably some Kempo with the guys he was messing around with. That seemed real popular during that time period, and the way he would hold his hands when he was moving seemed more Kempoistic, if that's a word, but I like it. Anyway, so,
I like it.
But really, I think it really started kicking in during the early 80s, right around the time, of course, the Karate Kid came out, which, that's evolved to a whole new thing with Cobra Kai on YouTube. Yeah. That's awesome,
Yeah.
So it just keeps it going, right? But kind of there, and then a friend of mine who was really into the whole ninja movement was my buddy, and he tossed this a Cub Scout handkerchief, and he tossed it to me over at the house one day, and I caught it, and it was kind of heavy, and I opened it up, and there was a shuriken in it, a Chinese star, which most people said back in the day,
It's dangerous.
And I didn't know what it was. It was the coolest thing ever, and then we get to talking about that, and it just kind of opened up the whole new door, and talking to my grandparents, who raised me, and I was like, hey, look, I want to start doing some of this. Then shortly after that, they had the PKA karate. It was on TV, and I watched this guy throw a kick, and I was sold. And then I was like, you got to take me. And so they took me to the East Nashville YMCA over there, and they had an art there called Shaolin Do, all right, which was kind of a karate-fied version of the Shaolin Temple. They had, supposedly the story is the master, Sin Quan Te of that, was his lineage was the master of that art, was one of those kids where they're born with all that facial hair. They look like like werewolves, that whatever that syndrome's called, and was abandoned on the temple doorstep, and then he was raised there and taught the ways, and then he got attacked. I think he killed somebody and he had to leave, and he fled China. And the story sounds a whole lot like Kung Fu, the show, but you got these stories are still good,
Okay.
And so when he arrived over here in the States, nobody was doing Kung Fu, so we adopted the gis and the belting systems, and that's kind of how that ended up. Yeah. Well, my first instructor there was Craig Mitchell, who is an awesome guy. We are still friends to this day. And several years ago, he looked me back up and then started coming by the school and actually started training with me in the Southern Praying Mantis Kung Fu. And I actually have a picture with him under one arm and Master Jin Foon Mark under the other, who was my Sifu from the Southern Praying Mantis Kung Fu, who passed away in December of 2018.
Yeah. Okay. Man, that's awesome. Well, so can you explain kind of a little bit about Master Mark, well, first of all, I guess tell us what Kwangsai Juklum is.
All right. Well, Kwangsai Juklum Tonglong Pai, and Kwangsai is like saying the Providence, like Hendersonville, Tennessee. Juklum means bamboo forest. That's the monastery where the art was created. And then Tong Long Pai is the Southern Praying Mantis Kung Fu.
Okay.
So, different from Northern Praying Mantis Kung Fu. Northern Praying Mantis Kung Fu is probably what most people see all the time. Mm-hmm. And it's more of like a man emulating, kind of pretending to be a mantis, emulating the movements, right? Okay. And known for having the hands of the mantis and the feet of the monkey. Yeah. All right. Southern mantis is a whole different creature. It goes almost how the mantis feels. The hands are extended, and you're reaching out for a bridge, making contact, almost like how the bug would actually fight. So some people think it's not as pretty. I think it's even more beautiful because it goes into, you have to see it for what it is. And Master Jin Foon Mark was the 5th generation master of this art. And I am honored to have known him and been in his presence. And he was like my Chinese grandpa. Yeah. You know, I go to Minnesota and spend time with him, and he passed away at 91 years old.
Wow. Still, it seems like he was still like.
Yeah. Except for he was in a wheelchair most of the time. Yeah. His hands were still humming. Yeah. Like if you get close enough to him, he still gets you. Yeah. You know. Yeah, without a doubt.
You ever slap you a little bit?
Yes, he did. Yeah. I mean, he slapped me the first time I met me, and I didn't know if I was going to be right again. You know, I was like, will I be normal? You know.
Something gone wrong? I don't know.
Yeah. There was even in the Kung Fu world, the respect that they have for him. If you mentioned his name, everybody just got quiet. Yeah. Yeah, he was the man. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen pictures. You can see that kind of like aura, I guess. Mm-hmm. Say like there's power around him. So there's a story behind how Southern Mantis was developed. I think. Can you tell me that story?
I can tell you 2 versions. I can tell you the version that I got, and then I can tell you the version Master Mark told me in the car. If this is okay, or is this going to be censored?
Sure. No. Say whatever you want.
Okay. All right. So, the way I understand it is the Southern Praying Mantis Kung Fu. The first monk, Sam Dot. There are 5 generations: Sam Dot, Li Shim Shi, Chung Yu Chung, Lam Wing Fei, Jin Foon Mark. All right. And then I'm 6th generation disciple underneath Master Jin Foon Mark. The first monk was kind of a smaller, sickly monk. All right, so like a lot of the monks there would kind of pick on him, like a lot of the other ones, you know, like. Yeah. And so he'd go out and practice his internal power, his qigong energy work. And one day he watched a bird come down and attack a mantis, and the mantis was moving and moving, and the bird couldn't hit it, and then the mantis keeps striking the bird toward the eyes. The bird gets frustrated and flies off. So he developed that art, what they call Sambo Jin, which is 3-step arrow or 3 steps forward in some translations. Okay. Even 3-step scissor in some. But when you see how the action is expressing in 3-time power, to where I don't have to cock back for power. It doesn't come from my hip. It comes from my core. Like swinging a kettlebell. That's core power, right? Similar. So he develops this and goes back and tries it against all his brothers there, and he beat them all. All right.
Okay.
That's my version.
Yeah. Okay.
First time I met Jin Foon Mark, because he came to New York City, Chinatown, and then he moved in the early 70s to St. Paul, Minnesota, where he resided until he passed away. And Master Mark was a Shaolin monk, and then he was brought to guard the fourth generation master Lam Sang in New York. When he became the 5th generation master, then he moved to St. Paul. So I've known him ever since he's been in Minnesota. So I went up in 2011 after studying the art since '95 under one of the instructors underneath Master Mark that moved to Gallatin, Tennessee. 2011, I decided to go directly with the old man. And
go to the master.
Oh, it's the best thing I ever did. It changed everything. And then the spirit work and all that kind of stuff, which I was introduced to. But so the first time I met him, and he gets in the car, and I'm driving him to the Chinese restaurant. And at this time, I'm still afraid of him. And he's there's so much to him, and it's frightening, you know. Like if you get in the car with Mike Tyson and go to lunch, you know, you just don't know what's liable to kick off on that ride, you know. Like, you know. So I mean, it's kind of that feeling, right?
Yeah.
So he goes, okay, I'll tell you a story. Chuklam. He goes, first monk Sam Dot. He goes, and they beat him up all the time. They beat him up. He cried, rah, rah, rah. They beat him up all the time. So go out in the field. He practices qigong. He breathe in the qigong. He breathe in the qigong. He goes and he see a bird come down to attack a mantis, and the mantis move, move, move. And he said, "God damn, that's a good idea." So he go back and he tried and he beat everybody. And the abbot come back and said, "Who beat up everybody?" He said, "Little guy over there." And that was Master Mark. Dude, I was laughing so hard I thought I was going to wreck the car, you know? He had a way of putting things, you know? You quote me on that because I was there.
That's awesome. So, yeah, I guess he was pretty intimidating but kind of disarming at the same time.
Well, you know, he hit we go through 3 stages of life. You start off in yin when you're a baby. Yang starts about puberty time when you start rebelling, you start going into the hard side of things, you know, and screw you, dad, I'm my own person, you know, and you're becoming who you are. And you'll peak right around your 50s. That's where peak starts taking place. And then more toward your 60s, you start transferring into yang. You'll start going from yang back into yin. And then you start appreciating life and you become, you know, more laid back. And he got more into the yin phase of his life where just everything was beautiful. And he hated the fact he was getting old. He couldn't stand that. He wanted to stay young. He'd watch videos of himself moving back when he was in his 40s and 50s. Like, do like that, yeah. You know? And so he just became jolly and funny and joking and just silly just all the time, you know? And you got to joke with him. Like, when I went to see him back in September for his birthday, and this is just a few months before he passed away, we went into the Halloween store, like in the mall, and they've got like the pitchforks and the sickles and all the costumes. And he just loved all that stuff. And so I gave him, and he's in a wheelchair now, right? And I gave him like the pitchfork, and I grabbed one of them sickles, and I run around the other side, and I come out with swung it. I'm like, "Rah!" Dude, he hooked that thing and stabbed me with that pitchfork. You know, kind of scared me a little bit, you know. Playtime is over. Yeah, you know, but he's great. I mean, there's just so many great stories. I mean, I could share about him and how good he was to me.
Yeah, you
know, he was very good to me.
Yeah,
you know, just took to me. I don't know if it was, you know, him living up north and, you know, me a southern boy down here in Tennessee, that, you know, the way you treat old people is a little different.
Yeah.
You know?
True.
With him, everybody's like, oh, Master Mark. And me, it's like, I'm going to give him a shot of whiskey and take him to a strip club kind of mentality, you know? I know what old men like, you know? Yeah. Well, we shot the whiskey.
And so how did you actually meet him?
Well, my original instructor in Tennessee was Chuck Gross. And he was one of Master Mark's students up in Minnesota, and he did the videos for Master Mark. I was with him quite a while, and very good. As time moved on, I moved on. And then when I opened up the school and started teaching, that was in 2006. Well, in 2011, I'd had some videos that were posted, and one of my students actually went to Minnesota and started training out there without my consent, but still, these things happen. Turns out to be a blessing in disguise, you know? So I called out there and like, hey, look, don't really use this guy as a template for what we do, because I didn't authorize him to go out there and do this. Everything's kind of a respect kind of thing, you know? You go with your blessing, you know? He didn't do this, so if he gets out there and does something dumb, I didn't tell him to come do it, you know?
Okay.
All right. So then shortly after that, you know, my student, he's out there, then he calls and he says, hey, look, Master Mark saw one of the videos you posted and said that you were more than qualified to come get certified. Nice. And I was like, whoa, dude, I hopped a plane.
Yeah.
You know, and so I went on out there, and I did. And I went through ceremony and got certified as an instructor in the art. So I never forget the first time that I pulled up, you know, because he's downstairs, and his senses are on a whole nother level. Like, there's no cameras, no nothing. And he goes, that him upstairs. Yeah.
Wow.
You know, when I come downstairs and shook his hand, it's terrifying, you know. Yeah. But and later on, you get to know him. It's like, oh, this is the best thing ever. You know, I got to know him. Like,
yeah.
You know, then you know people, like, if you're talking about, and then someone says something about Master Mark, you'll know real quick if that story's true or not. Because if you get to know him, like, no, he would never do that. Oh, he'd totally do that. You know, he would totally do that. Awesome. You know,
yeah.
He outlived 2 wives and had a girlfriend for like 15 years when he passed. You know, and he loved the ladies, boy, and they loved him too. He'd be like, "You sexy, you sexy," you know.
Well, he did. I guess he probably worked with Kundalini kind of energy, or
a little different, but the same.
Yeah, same kind of.
His Shingung energy work and the esoteric and the spirit, and
yeah,
you know, knowing that we're spirits on a human journey, not the other way around, and how to communicate and
yeah,
run in that realm. And then, I had been working with my kung fu partner, David Whitley, who is the Iron Tamer.
Yeah.
And all that steel you still bend the floor over there, that's him.
So he bends
solid
steel.
Everything. Yeah, just, he'll baffle science when he grabs a hold of something.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw him bend a horseshoe once.
Oh, yeah. Give it to you as a gift. Turn it backwards into a heart and hand it to you.
Yep.
So I've been working with him, and he was studying with the Hoshinryu, which is a ninjutsu clan in that family.
Okay.
And then, of course, we use terms because, like Kundalini would be more of like talking. It's almost like an India verbiage for this, right?
Okay.
But it's one of those things that makes sense. Like if someone says karate, well, you understand martial arts. Karate actually translates to Chinese hand. Japanese can't handle that, and they called it open hand. But the kanji say Chinese hand because that's where it came from, China, Okinawa, Japan. So when we're using these terms, that's not really the terms that they're using. That's how they best describe it so you would understand it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So the Hoshinryu, that energy is passed down from the masters and applied into your spine through what's called Shaktipat.
Okay.
And it's like they're vibrating at that level. If you go through it and want it and they apply it to you, it can't be undone because once it happens, then you're vibrating at that level and your body has to go through an adjustment.
Yeah.
I had that done.
Okay. Did you get sick?
Oh, Lord. At first, I was ready and it was applied to my spine. And in April of 2013 is when they called the pop takes place, when everything it goes up from the lower part of the spine up through and out the third eye, and then that's just how you are. Mm-hmm. Because you have to prepare for that. You have to work with it. Some folks have it happen by accident or a traumatic event or a car accident, or I have a friend of mine, his wife was struck by lightning and had it happen. Wow. All right, yeah. But she didn't have the training to be able to control it, so she can't work a job now.
Yeah.
All right, because she's talking with spirits all day long. People think she's crazy.
Yeah.
But she's really talking to them.
Yeah.
Whatever she says, she sees happening, it happens. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's just coincidental. No. No.
Happens every time.
It happens.
It's not a coincidence.
She sees it for it, and they're saying this, and this is what's happening. This is, unless you just start speaking out, the girls say, they said that, blah, 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 and so okay. I think we're in a bad part of a time that we're medicating our prophets because we don't understand anymore that we are spirits on a human journey, not the other way around. You are not the skin car. It will drop right back to the ground where it began, and you'll be what you always have been, part of the consciousness, part of the whole. Mm-hmm. So I was studying that and went through the Kundalini Awakening. And then one day I was out in Minnesota watching Jennifer and Mark doing the Shingon spirit work, and nobody really I ever seen get involved with it. I never understood why. And, of course, being in the Bible Belt, if you don't accept Jesus, you're going to hell, and that's just kind of what you grew up with.
That's just how it is.
Hey, that's right, and okay, what about all the things? Nothing else matters, Don't even talk about it. If you talk about it, you're going to hell,
Yep.
But what I understood growing up is we have problems, that made no sense, and I can't stand that if it makes no sense. I love me some Jesus, don't get me wrong. I've had my own personal interactions with Christ, and it's a good thing, very good thing.
Yeah.
But that is a consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and that's the highest consciousness. What I had noticed in the South is like if you said you were a Christian, all right, well, which one are you? Are you Roman Catholic? Are you Lutheran? Seventh-day Adventist? Jehovah's Witness? Because they all have differences of opinion and they all think they're right. So there's not just one school of Christianity. There are all these schools, and then they all argue with each other.
Yep.
Yeah. Which takes you back to almost like Gandhi's way of thinking. I like your Christ. I do not like your Christians. They are nothing like your Christ. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted a bigger picture. I wanted to get better understanding because it don't make sense to me. It's eating at me.
Or widen your knowledge.
Yeah, and also I got tired being tired. I'm going to go to a pit and burn up,
Yeah.
And I will tell you this, and here's what really got me going. When my daughter was little, she used to walk around the house all the time and tell me she was talking to Jesus.
Okay.
I believe her, especially things that she was telling me, and it was just so good and so pure. Well, she'd gotten involved with her mother's side of the family in this church, and all of a sudden, she ain't talking to Jesus no more. She's coming to me talking about hell and fire, and she's frightened, and she's little.
That's horrible.
I'm like, the church literally drove Jesus out of you. This makes no sense. And so I'm trying to talk with her, and she says, Daddy, do you believe in hell? And I'm like, not in the way you do. Because I started kind of going scholaristic, and I start realizing a lot of interpretations are wrong.
Yeah.
Like hell was a place they'd burn and throw bodies, and a lot of this they're referring to. It's like you'd be no better off than this.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, hell is what you create right here. If you don't see it and you're not in the enlightenment, like, did we get thrown out of the garden, or did our belief systems make us walk out of the garden? So now it's not what you learn, it's what you have to unlearn to make your way back to the garden to be in communion with the Father, right? Mm-hmm. All right. Oh, but no one wants to hear that now, do they,
No.
All right. So I'm talking to my daughter, and she says, well, Daddy, do you believe in hell? And I'm like, well, not the same way that you do, baby. And she says, well, what do you mean? I said, okay, I'm your father, right? Well, yes. Well, God's our Father, right? I said, do you think there's anything you could possibly do that would cause me to put you in a place of fire and suffer for all eternity? And she says, well, no. I said, well, if I couldn't do it and God could do it, then I have more compassion than God, and that's not possible. All right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Good argument. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna get some phone calls from her mother over that one. But that's, hey, truth is truth.
Yeah.
So we just lay it out there. There's a little food for thought. You'll think about it. Come back.
Yeah.
Remember, Jesus didn't hang out with the church folks. He hung out with people that needed him.
Yeah.
And another thing too, I find real funny. People talking about Jesus turned the water into wine. You know where he was at when he did that?
It's at a wedding, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So were they having church or were they having a good time?
Yeah.
Okay. You know what I'm saying? I don't normally do this, but y'all keep the party going.
Let's go. Yeah. Let's do this.
Jesus in the house. All right. I'm gonna be getting some phone calls off this one right here too.
Yeah, we need some more Jesus. Right?
I know, right? Come on in, we'll all hang out. Anyway, so I'm watching Master Mark doing the Shingon, and I'd already been through the whole Kundalini thing, and I said, Master Mark, I said, you teach me Shingon, which means spirit work. Well, he got serious, turns around, puts his hand on my shoulder, he goes, next time. I get it. He said, he'll make sure this ain't a passing whim, I'm just asking you. No, he's going to make you, do you really want it?
Yeah.
6 months later, he comes back to Nashville, and I've got the seminar going on, and he does the seminar, and everybody's getting paid, and I wait until the end of the seminar, and I take him his red envelope full of his money and everything, and I'm buttering him up, where's the whiskey, Anyway, so Sifu, and he's like, yeah. I said, you remember you said next time you teach me Shingon? He nodded his head, and he got me started.
Okay.
And this goes, the first call is to the east, where everything began. That's where it first starts off, and then how everything is aligned with the planetary and how everything is one and it's not separate. And then the three balances of life, the Fukluk Shu, which is, your happiness, your money, and your longevity. If money's all you focus on, you shorten your happiness, you shorten your life.
Yeah.
But ultimately, when you build the spirit table on the altar, it's your garden. You're tending your spirit garden. You got to tend it every day. Why? Because it keeps you responsible. When you step up to that altar, you have to let the ego go, which is what you think you are, your avatar. You don't know who you're messing with. Yeah. No, you don't know who you are.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So you have to drop the ego, and it's Taoist, which means way.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what you believe. It does not have a religious association. This is how things work. Right?
Yeah.
And sometimes that might even change. So if you're tending that garden, it becomes beautiful and it grows, just like you'll know by what fruit it bears, if it's any good, if it's bearing good fruit. So every day, if you're being accountable and have to be who you really are rather than who you claim to be, then you'll do nothing but aspire and go to the next level. So I'm very grateful. And he took me all the way through, and he took me through ceremony with that, with the Shingon. So I'm one of few on the Caucasian side that have completed the art. Yeah. Chuck Chen, who was one of the disciples under Lum Sang, which is who Master Mark trained underneath, said he believes I was the only Caucasian ever to be taught that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's kind of an honor, isn't it?
Either way, I love it. You know what I'm saying? Wow. I don't want no ego badges, but you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, some acknowledgment's always nice.
Yes.
Yeah, he did it. He's got it. He's doing it. Yeah. And I'll teach and pass it to somebody else when they're ready. Because it ain't who I pick, or it ain't them even picking themselves. It's if they're seeking that knowledge and they're hungry for it and they're really going. A lot of times they've already got the answers when they come to me. I'm just going, yes, no. How about this? Head over there. When you come back, because that's what Master Mark would send me on. He'd give me a bite of it, and I have to go and I'd study.
Yeah.
When I come back, if I got to go, see if it was this, and he goes, yeah. Now this, yeah. Now this. And then, this went several years. And then finally when he goes, okay, now I put my spirit into you, the spirit of the art. And I went through ceremony, and it changed everything,
Yeah. So ceremony, would that be kind of like an initiation kind of?
Yeah, pretty much, like anything else that, and almost like knighted. I was on my knees. He took the spirit fan in each shoulder, and that's the download.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. Yeah. So it seems like there's always some sort of like hands-on, like physical touch when there's some sort of initiation.
Yeah. Just like, just charging that battery. Get you with the cables. You know what I'm saying? That's jumping,
Yeah.
And so then within a 1 year span, it all happened the same year. So, that I had Kundalini, then all of a sudden I've got, so I'm in a spiritual whirlwind.
Yeah. So you're buzzing all around.
Oh man. And then of course, when Kundalini awake, you feel amazing when it first happens. That pop took place. And
so what does that feel like?
Well, I'll tell you this. And believe what you want to believe, but this is what happened. The night before I popped, after the energy's been applied, this one was about 3 months, about 2 weeks before it actually rose up and comes out the third eye, I had driven to the house where I was living at the time, and I pulled up and I looked up into the tree, and all of a sudden was afraid like I've never been afraid before in my life. And spiritually, it's like even the Bible says, my sheep know my voice, right?
Yeah.
And you can call it the angel of death, you can call it whatever you want to call it, was sitting up in that tree like a shadow. I couldn't make out the form, but you could see a shadow. There was something there.
Yeah.
And I was afraid to even look up. My whole body was trembling. I could feel it through my whole being. Like there's, like something bad's about to.
Something there.
There's something there that's way bigger. Like my whole insides are freaking out.
Yeah.
And I could hear inside me like, look, face it. And so I finally look up and I see that shadow. And I'm not wanting to look, but I'm looking. And what it said was not audible. It's like it's speaking directly to your internal. Like, what you are on the inside, the spirit you are, it's speaking spirit to spirit.
Yeah.
So if I'm making that out to words, here's what it said. If I wanted you, you'd be gone. That was heavy. So I'm going to tell you right now, there ain't no pleading, there ain't no begging, there ain't no gambling, you'll do it anyway, but if it's time, it's time. Like, and it was made it very clear if I wanted you to be gone. Now live your life.
Yeah.
The very next day, I was in the house, and it felt like from the bottom of my spine, almost like the coughing started. And I was uncomfortable in a way, like I couldn't, like you're trying to get to sleep but your back hurts or something like that, and it was kind of that feeling, and just miserable. Then I started coughing, and the coughing wouldn't stop. And I felt like a caterpillar was crawling up inside of my spinal cord. All right? And then I remember coming to class, to teach class that day. When I walked in, I'm still coughing, and I'm kind of suffering, and I'm weak, and I cancel classes. One of my students wouldn't leave, though. There's something wrong, and so he hung back. Well, he got to witness this. And I remember looking up, and I felt it almost like electricity go up the left side of my body, and like my eye dilated on the left side.
Just the left side.
Just the left side. The right side didn't happen until the next day.
Left side is female?
Receiving channel.
Passive.
Yeah, receiving channel. And then your right's going out. It's backwards on a girl.
Okay.
Right, it's opposite. That's how creation takes place, male and female. As a man, you're the positive. As a female, she's the negative.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is. Yeah. There's more going on. There's more going on than the sperm and the egg. The chakras are in alignment when you're making love, and when the mouth's touching, the genitals are touching, the energy's going up the spine and circulating through microcosmic orbit through her third eye. And when you release your power into her, you're wiped out and creation begins.
Yeah.
Now we screw with that, being humans and all, but if you just don't do anything and that's how you do, most likely there'll be a kid involved after that, right? That's kind of what it's, So energy, electricity. So the left side goes first. The next day, the right side goes and it fires. And I feel incredible. Stronger than I've ever been my entire life. My power, my back don't hurt. Everything's just amazing. Of course, David Whitley, the Iron Tamer who applied the shock, it pops like, prepare for the dark night of the soul that's coming.
The dark night of the soul.
Dark night of the soul. And what that is everything that's lodged in your cellular memory, what you've experienced, your dysfunctions, your childhood, your ego, everything that you think that isn't is about to get kicked out.
Your shadow.
Yeah, because your electrical system was running about a 110, right?
Okay.
When you go Kundalini, you connect to source, which everything that is. So that's like going from to 220, right?
Yeah.
Well, you're going to blow some fuses, all right?
Yeah.
And anything that's lodged in you that you're trying to hang on to that doesn't really exist, your dysfunctions, your addictions, whatever it is.
Resonate.
Yeah. It's going to keep hitting it until it blows it loose. That's what they call a lot of people Kundalini survivors, because if you don't have a guide to help you through this, you can lose your mind. They'll call you schizophrenic, you know?
Go crazy, yeah.
You go crazy, you know, because you're still trying to hang on to something and you can't accept what's happening.
Yeah.
So you have to meditate and meditate and go into this meditation and using hand mantras to kind of hold yourself. It doesn't make it stop, makes it suck less, makes it be able to get through it, you know?
Okay.
Almost like, I don't know, like spiritual aspirin. Just, you know, it's not going to go away, but I can get through work.
A little bit less.
Just a little bit less. Yeah. Get through work. Spiritual weed, you know? Anyway.
Yeah, there you go. You don't completely go crazy. You can just hold it together.
Just holding it together until you get through it, and you have to face all your stuff.
Yeah.
And then when it blows it all loose, and you're open, you're connected, and it's good. You see things for how they are.
Yeah.
You no longer lie to yourself, you know?
So your ego completely goes away.
Yeah. And you experience death of the ego. Yeah. And when that happens, it fights for its life.
Yeah.
Because that's your identity. Who am I if I'm not this?
Yep.
You know, like a champion boxer. He's the champ. That's champ. Hey, champ. You champ. Hey, champ. Hey, champ. Champ gets his ass beat one day. He ain't the champ no more. Then who is he?
Yeah.
You know, are you a has-been? No one wants to be a has-been. All right?
Yeah.
So then what are you? Right? What got you to that point? You have to go into the real essence of who you are.
Yeah.
You know? Like, speaking of Mike Tyson, we were talking about Mike Tyson earlier. Yeah. Mike Tyson is more in a spiritual zone now, not boxing, than he was back when he is. He's probably in the best shape now like he was back in the day. I mean, he got fat for a lot of years, and then he's back. People are telling him, you going to fight again, Mike? And he says, no, I don't like that person.
Yeah.
You know, he really don't want to talk about it. He's like, I did it. It was something that I did. He goes, but if I start thinking like that guy and start thinking I'm special, then he burns his whole playhouse down. Like it's not healthy for him.
Or it's like what you said, his cellular memory kind of gets kicked back in.
Yeah, like he says, once I start believing that I'm, better than you, then I start acting up.
The ego comes back. Yeah.
Yeah, he realizes he's just like everybody else, and he's just trying to, he's in a much better place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've heard he's a really nice guy. Huh?
Yeah. You don't take a swing at him. You'll learn the hard way. Yeah. Mike Tyson might not have the belt, but he's still the champ. You know. So it's been very good for me. It was very hard. I made it through, but it's one of the most beautiful things. I like being the real me and not a version of what I think that I am that could ever be taken away or less than, or because your life is like vapor. It's just a flash in the pan. So either in the now and live in it, or you're not. People, when they and your imagination is everything. Creates you, it creates the ego, it creates the past, it creates the future. And how do you create the past? Every time you go back there, it's gone. It doesn't exist. So if you're being hindered by your past, you literally have to take your imagination, go back to that memory, recreate it, bring it into the future, and it's going to be a little different every time because you had to recreate it.
Yeah.
All right? Like, ain't the way I remember it. People get to argue. I ain't making why? Because your creation and my creation is different.
Because your ego filters it.
Yeah, well, it's three versions of the truth. Yours, mine, and what really happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we go into the future, and that's a problem too. The future hasn't happened yet. It's like a couple that gets married, and they, in their mind, they're like, we're going to be like our grandparents. We're going to be 90 years old, rocking in, holding hands and in love. And they're having the best marriage ever, and 2 years in, one of them gets sick and dies. And the other one stays bitter and won't live their life over a future they imagined in their head that was never meant to be.
Yeah.
And they're suffering from their imagination and bitterness over what they did not get, rather than being grateful for the 2 years that they did get and what they learned and time to move on. That might be the love of your life, but your life's not over yet.
Yeah.
So let's go to the next level. So these are the things that the spirit work teaches,
Yeah, finally.
Well, even like, feelings, like if you imagine the best feeling you've ever had, or the most proud you've ever been, or think about your parents, all this kind of stuff, and or the happiness, go back to that memory and take the feeling, and then remove the catalyst. Oh, I don't want to do that. Well, it's not that you're removing them from the memory. You're just not making them responsible for that feeling. That way you can generate that feel. That girl, I love the way she made me feel. I felt so awesome. I've never been feeling like how she made me feel. Well, if she ain't with you and she's walking the other way, why are you giving your power to her, making her responsible for your feelings?
Yeah.
That would never work anyway. You make somebody else responsible for your happiness, that's a burden that nobody wants to bear. They can't anyway. Yeah. You got to be responsible for your own happiness. Then they accentuate and take it to the next. They help lift you up. You help lift each other up, and that's a really good, healthy life partner and life, way to go.
Yeah.
So that way, okay, if I want that feeling, I liked who I was when I was. Why not? Why can't I just continue being that?
Yeah.
Right. That's my choice. Yeah. Right. But man, the ego wants to grab, contain. It either wants to be the best at or the worst at something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the best thing is to be, to be here in the moment.
Yeah.
And
isn't that that's what black belts are supposed to do? They're not supposed to be teachers. They're supposed to be. Is what I've heard.
You're also supposed to be good students. A black belt is not the ending, it's the beginning. The moment you get your black belt, I no longer have to teach you how to stand, how to kick, how to punch, how to behave. Now I go, here's the information, and then you can do it. Yeah. And, and all that is garbage anyway. I mean, belting systems and that kind of stuff, that came from the idea of the monks wearing sashes to support their back.
Okay.
And over time, that white sash would start changing color and get dirty, a little green, a little yellow, and then finally when it got dirty, nasty, brown, black, you take it off and you put another one on.
Okay.
Therefore, when you hit your black belt and you hit your second degree, it's got a white stripe.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you hit your third degree, it's got a yellow stripe. Fourth degree, it's got a brown stripe. Fifth degree, it's got a red stripe. It means it just keeps going. The cycle has started all over again.
Ouroboros.
Yeah, you just keep rotating and you keep elevating.
Yeah.
If you're caught up in that black belt, then you're caught up in the ego once again, of the belt. And then you've got McDojos that are out there all the time. And karate schools now are glorified babysitters, and that just is what it is. If you don't like it, change it. I don't like it, but, that ain't what I'm doing,
Yeah, you're changing it.
Yeah. It's good for, if a kid to do something, but it's basically, they pick them up after school, they take them back, do their homework, they charge the parent this weekly thing. Within a year, they get their black belt, and they can't fight their weight out of a wet paper sack, but then they've got an ego that says they can.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of the arts that are a little more aggressive, from the jiu-jitsu arts now that, have kind of dominated the scene. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's good, but what terrain are you in when something goes down? Why are you training? Are you trained to fight in a ring? Are you trying to fight in a sport? Or you want self-defense? A lot of self-defense, fights happen one of three ways. And normally it's always the ego. Mm-hmm. All right? It's either me and my buddy, two egos get together and a catalyst begins.
Yeah.
The second one is alcohol beverages normally consumed in that environment. And then the third one is romantic relationships. Don't care if it's gay or straight, if there's feelings involved, that can kick off and bring up people's insecurities and inadequacies, which cause fights, either domestic fights or fights out in public. And that's how fights normally get started.
Yeah.
An attack is something different. I want your life, your money, your dignity. All right?
Okay, yeah.
A fight always has a prequel. It's got something that led up to an argument before the first blow is ever thrown. Yeah. All right? If it's in a bar, do you want to be on the ground rolling around with somebody in a bar where there's glass and chairs and other people and stuff like that? Doesn't make much sense now, does it?
No.
So, to me, why not learn how to better yourself? Mm-hmm. Learn what you really are. And then the action of the self-defense is just part of the tool of the martial arts. It's one aspect of the whole wheel.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you only had one spoke, your tire would go thump, 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 Yeah. You want it smooth and balanced.
Yeah.
You got to balance your tires, right? And you need to rotate them, right?
Get a yin and yang.
Exactly. It takes them both. There's such a balance. If we had all males, species would die. If we had all female, species would die. Mm-hmm. All sunlight, we'd burn up. All nighttime, we'd freeze.
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And it's all cooperation. The moon is reflecting the sun. Mm-hmm. It's filtered, and then gets its own contrast because of that, right? How cool is that? It's oneness. We're not separate in any way. We just believe that we are. And man, what a time we live in where that's just being pushed for division.
Yeah.
What if we all came together for a common cause and goodness? Wow, things would change now, wouldn't they?
Power behind that.
Oh, yeah.
Be...
Power nobody wants to talk about because they're too busy caught up in their own ego of how things they think should be.
Yeah.
That's being fed to them by people that got way more than what they got.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't like that food, Monsanto. I don't want none of that,
It's just shoved in our faces and whatever.
Man.
So it seems like so martial arts is, would you say it's like 70% mental kind of thing, and then the rest is physical, or?
I almost put everything's 50-50.
50-50? Okay.
Yeah. You got to balance it all out. Remember the 3 aspects of life,
Yeah.
So, your mind, body, and your spirit.
Yeah.
Those are the things that you focus on. If you're breaking down to that trend, it's always in 3s. Your mind, your body, and your spirit. If one gets out of whack, work on the other one.
Okay. Yeah.
If your mind's out of whack and your spirit's out of whack, go work out.
Yeah.
When you start working out, you get the oxygen flow, and you're working out, you're changing your body. You feel better, which helps your mind, which helps your spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah. When one's lacking and you can't seem to get it right, go work on the other 2, and it'll help kick the other one back into place.
Yeah.
All right?
So how do you have any techniques for kind of raising your chi energy?
There's a lot. Qigong is that energy work. That definitely. Here we practice 6 harmonies, which is vibrating the organs for health. Master Jinfeng, he always said that this was the best.
Yeah.
Because you're actually making sound to vibrate the organs. Like, you have the liver, the lung, the heart, the triple heater. And within these, each, that's not all 6, but like stomach, for instance, the sound to heal the stomach is who. Like, who. And within that, you can hear the phonic off of that, almost like you're tuning a guitar, that little woo, 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 woo.
Yeah.
You're listening for that. That lets you know that you're in there. Okay. But that's what vibrates that stomach to the healing area, almost like a tuning fork or a tuning bow.
Yeah.
Same thing. I'm just making that sound to make it happen.
So you're getting some of those overtones with your tongue placement, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, who is the stomach? The liver is white noise. Shh.
Okay.
Just a couple of them.
Yeah. What's the name of that? It's the. I know it's
6 healing sounds.
6 healing sounds, okay. And that's Qigong?
Yeah, Qigong, which means energy work.
Yeah.
Lots of difference Qigong energy work. If you're doing good yoga, you're doing, that would be, you're just doing Qigong. Doing Tai Chi, you're still doing Qigong. And doing moving Qigong, moving meditation,
Yeah.
So it just depends on what you're doing, what you're getting into. If you're the average Joe Blow, go outside, take your shoes off, and stand in the grass and just breathe down to the earth through your body. For a good 20 minutes a day, you'll get the effects.
Yeah.
We don't ground nearly as much as we need to. The shoes are making you sick.
Yep.
We weren't made to wear them. Go outside and get your feet bare on that grass.
Yeah.
And
if you can find grass.
Yeah.
So I know that with your Southern Mantis, you use what's known as Fa Ging?
Fa Jing is or Jing power. It's it gets into, it's hard to explain. It gets kind of into projection. It's more of a physical thing I have to show you than anything else. But I'm projecting through you that Jing, which is almost like a short piston. It's like compressed, and then when I compress it, I release it. And then later on, you learn how, as you compress it, you think of like a bow and an arrow. Like I've got the bow in one hand, then I'm pulling back the line of the string, pulling it back, and then the arrow sitting in between. And then as I release that, it kicks the arrow. So if I can make that happen in my body all at the same time, it fires the power.
Okay.
And if my mind's injected into that, and I put the chi right behind it, not only are you getting the mechanics, that make it like a mechanism making it fire. Then you've got the internal power right behind it, which becomes very devastating.
You got the energy flows through you and into the other thing. I heard it kind of explained as twitch power, almost, where it's like that when you get startled, that kind of visceral response where you use your whole core kind of thing.
Yeah, you know what, kind of, because there's a lot of force in that, and a lot of time, but that I think when you get startled causes you kind of hurt yourself.
Yeah.
You smack the door, smack something that ain't there,
Put your back out.
Yeah, something like that. You jump, whatever. This is more directed, you learn how to do that,
Yeah.
But similar,
Okay.
And then learning how also, in striking, doing this to cause autonomic responses, hitting places on the body that set the next point of the body.
Yeah.
If I hit in a certain area, you'll turn or move into a certain degree that sets me up for my next shot.
Yeah. So I've seen videos of you hitting people in 3 or 4 spots, and they just fall down, pass out.
Yeah. I catch a lot of grief over that.
Oh, yeah? People think it's a fake or something?
Oh, man. Read some of the comments. I've done so many videos now. I'm just kind of just on that. I can't even quit doing them. I'm just like, I leave those out there and let them bicker,
Yeah.
The thing about it is nobody ever says it to my face, though. I find that hilarious, That ain't real. That ain't real.
Oh, yeah.
The school is here at this address. You're more than welcome to come out. They never show up, Okay, let's explain it.
Yeah.
It's no magic. It just is, The magic is us. We're the magic. We are spirits inhabiting a body. How magical is that?
Yeah.
And nobody ever thinks about that. You do realize we're on this planet, floats in the middle of, that goes on as far as you can possibly imagine. And we argue constantly over red and blue.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you even get what you are even in and how awesome this is? If everybody just realized the awesomeness of life,
right,
it would stop. But we're shadowed. Everybody's living in the ego, and then we're living in the collective consciousness that we've been fed by people that are, that know what's going on.
Yeah.
Just keep them arguing, and they'll keep paying our bills, Keep
them all distracted.
Yeah. So, ask me that question again. I got just a hair sidetracked on that.
So the mechanics, how do...
the videos. All right. So how this works, think of acupuncture. All right. So your body has 12 meridians flowing throughout that's carrying electrical current, like the wiring of your house.
Yeah.
All right. Your chakras run up the center. Think of those as like fuse boxes to your house.
Okay.
All right. Then you have the two main, the conception vessel and the governing vessel, which is like the river's feeding all of it, going up the spine down the front.
Okay.
All right. Governing is the back, conception's in the front.
Yeah.
Right. That's how you remember it, right?
All right.
If you want conception, it's in the front, right?
Yeah.
All right. So all that's running, feeding those meridians. All I'm doing, and where I originally started learning this was under Master George Dillman, pressure point therapy, and he is awesome. Look the stuff up. He catches a lot of grief too for some of the no-touch knockouts and stuff, but once again, still works,
Yeah.
And there are ways to negate it, but at the same time, that's still in yin yang. That's the purpose of that, right?
Yeah.
So, but if you're attacking and you're reaching to me, your mind is on me, and you're not in your defensive. People you really can't attack and defend at the same time. You can attack and cover, but it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
If your mind is on me, it's not on you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If you're really trying to hit me, I wait for that commitment. A jab is not a commitment. I stay away. When you really give it your all right, that's when you're open for this stuff to happen. It's because in the transition of that, I intercept what's taking place and I strike certain areas. And if you put quarters all over your body, put 108, and you think you could hit 2 or 3 of them if you needed to, probably it's just, Well, I'm hitting them in such a succession that it's the same thing like acupuncture. I'm just shutting it down, causing a cycle of destruction. So I'm turning off channels to your body when you're making certain approaches. If you stood there and didn't move and I tried to do it, well, you'd be protecting yourself. I'd be the one attacking, right?
Okay.
So I move back and wait for you to come get it. And when you do, then I'm going to hit some things, all right?
Yeah.
So in the videos, if you see me doing this to people, they're relaxing to let this happen.
Okay.
So we ain't got to be in a full-blown fight for it to,
Yeah.
All right. But when you see it or when you experience it, it's something else. But if I hit you in the chakra realms, that's like turning off the fuse box, right? And in the videos, I'm doing things to where I'm hitting places to where I'm not hurting you permanently.
Yeah.
But, the first time I did it, I put a few people down, like, oh, use smaller guys, why don't you use bigger guys? And I got some big ones, right? And I put them down, and they hit the floor. And then I still ain't satisfied, right?
Not good enough. No.
And then I get several people in and do it like a conveyor belt. Towel, 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 and you watching their eyes roll back and them hit. And then they're telling you what happened when they get up, right?
Yeah.
And people still,
They're
no,
disoriented.
it's like, yeah, hell with it,
You don't have to have anything to prove, really.
Oh, and then some of the high-level guys in martial arts say, why don't you take the videos down? I'm like, I'm not ashamed of my past.
Yeah. Okay.
I did those videos in, 2008?
Yeah.
It's 2019. I'm not taking anything down.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, come talk to me about it,
Yeah.
Still, no one shows up,
Right. Yeah. So
470 West Main Street, Hendersonville, Tennessee, 37075, 615-228-1800. Just saying.
there you go. Get yourself a lesson. I think I heard you one time talk about kind of elemental theory, like you hit fire and earth
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
water, and so you hit those, like you hit corresponding.
Well, the way the meridians run, it's like you have cycle of creation and cycle of destruction based on Shang's cycle, 5-element. So if you go into to the cycle of destruction, fire melts metal, metal chops wood, and that's kind of how that rolls.
Okay.
Yeah. If you want more than that, you need to come study.
Yeah.
But you get the idea. Look it up, you'll find it.
Yeah. Okay. So does can you tell me about Wu Wei, the non-doing? How does that work into?
Non-doing,
Yeah.
like not doing anything. Well, everything is like, okay, because you're trying to avoid the ego. So, in the essence of Kung Fu, to avoid rather than check, to check rather than hurt, to hurt rather than maim, and to maim rather than kill, for all life is precious and none can be replaced. So, the first is to avoid the situation. If I can avoid it, why would I get in it? My ego is the only thing that would try to get me in. If I'm okay with me, then it don't matter what you do.
Yeah.
To avoid rather than check. To check means you've gotten in my way and I can't get out of this. So I'm like, please move.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
warning.
Yeah. Avoid rather than check rather than hurt. All right? Mm-hmm. So now you won't move or you touch me. Then there's a little pain compliance that I'll administer to maybe let you know this is not a good idea.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to move you. And to hurt rather than maim. In maiming, it means is when this is all said and done, you've got a remembrance of this, a broke arm, or maybe you had your eye gouged out your head, or something like that, And to maim rather than kill, because, all life is precious and none can be replaced.
Yeah.
So we really strive to make here on the floor, do you be a better who you are. I love to see a year from the time someone starts to where they're at, because it's not just what they become, it's how they can defend themselves. It's how they don't allow themselves to get into situations where they would have to do it, because the self-defense happens way before that. Use common sense before self-defense. When the ego's gone, then they're looking to be joyous. They're the last person you'd want to jump on or try to rob. They're confident. Their head's up. They're looking at you. They're happy. I think I would prefer not to walk down that dark alley tonight. That makes no sense. So things of that nature. So definitely, develop the self.
Yeah.
Develop the self. A lot of this stuff would just naturally fall into place. Would be my answer to that question.
Okay. So I think your master was quoted as saying, "Master feeling." All the time.
Feeling and timing. Feeling and timing.
How do you master feeling?
What's her name? Too soon? Anyway,
Okay.
Even in that right there was the fact that laughter. So much in that, right? Mm-hmm. In humor. Having a good time. How do you master feeling? You're reading situations before it ever takes place. Your perception. When you get into touch, everything is soft and you start balancing out, like the first 3 techniques, Mashu, Chakshu, Guashu, and those 3 are the mother hands, like your primary colors, right? Your red, yellow, and your blue, right? Those create all the colors, right? Yeah. Same thing with that. And so in practicing those, you develop touch and sensitivity training and timing and feeling, almost like dancing with somebody. But you don't get caught in the dance, because then you're just rehearsing and you're running a play rather than being right here in life.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to train your feeling, go to an opera. All right, go to hear some good music. Go hear a great speaker that's speaking from the heart and not dividing but uniting.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
If you're going to something that's one-sided, you're in the wrong place because you're getting one view, you're getting their view rather than a whole view.
Yeah.
Right. You know, that's where you start.
Yeah.
You know, get culturalistic, get out there, you know, go swim in a very cold pond, go and, you know, and,
Yeah.
you know, enjoy these things, you know, study some Wim Hof and get into the, you know, the Iceman. That's Dave Whitt, my Kung Fu partner, he's certified in Wim Hof. He went and started going studying that. Yeah.
Okay.
Training, you know, breathing and getting in the ice and all that, you know, so,
That's awesome.
you know, live. You want to live.
Yeah. Well, what about the other side? How can you master anger?
There's a book that I would definitely suggest for anyone who's getting on the path or wanting to walk this. It's called Power versus Force by David Hawkins. All right? And this gets into the vibrations of life. If you really want to understand this in terms that make sense being an American,
Yeah.
you know, like the lowest vibration there is shame.
Yeah.
All right? The highest vibration is enlightenment. So which one sits dead center? Acceptance. All right?
Yeah.
It's neutral. This is how it is. All right? This is my favorite vase in the world, and I love it. It's been through my generations of my family. And walking across the floor one day, I trip, and it falls and hits and busts all over the place. I get mad in my anger because I've broken this, and what it means in my shame, and I kick it, and I cut my foot. You know? Now I'm at the hospital with an infection, getting stitches, and I made the situation worse.
Yeah.
Where the truth of the matter is, when it breaks, if I can stand straight up and go to acceptance, which is a higher vibration than anger. Most people default to anger. If I go to acceptance, I'm like, well, this is how it is.
Yeah.
At that moment, I can then make a choice. All right? I can act before I react.
Yeah.
All right? That's how you master anger. Before you go there, go to acceptance. Look at it, accept it for what? Acceptance is a hard thing. This is how it is.
Yeah.
Now, what are you going to do? You're going to make it worse, you're going to make it better.
Okay. Yeah. So when is anger useful, do you think?
In the drive to get something done,
Yeah.
but you got to be real careful with it because it can cause you to make bad choices.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of things, you can't take it back once it's done. You can't take it back once it's said. You know, if I'm angry and I go to that, there's nothing wrong with it. It's definitely an emotion, you know, but if you want to trump it, you immediately go to acceptance.
Yeah.
You know, feel your anger because repressed anger becomes a bomb.
Yeah.
You know, it's ticking inside of you, right? And if you don't let it out at somebody else, you may literally internalize that power and start destroying inside of you because you're not allowing yourself to feel that anger.
Yeah.
It's how you express it that says everything,
Yeah.
you know?
Okay. Yeah. So safely kind of express your anger somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come train to Kung Fu.
Yeah. Come train with Sifu.
You learn how to get a hold of it. You
Yeah.
know, does it really matter? Why are you angry?
Yeah.
A lot of times it's a misconception of your belief of what it is that you're looking at that's causing your pain.
It's a lot of projection. Yeah.
Well, you know, like the Buddhists, they get into the thing is, you know, like suffering is caused from attachment. You're attached to something.
Yep.
So have no attachment. Well, to me, like, okay, I like the philosophy of that, but at the same time, that kind of falls into you've now made it a religion, and so now you live a tasteless life.
Yeah.
All right?
Can't really enjoy much.
No, I want to love and make love and experience, you know, and feel. If someone die, I want to have that. But I think when you go to acceptance, you learn not to have a hold of it to the point that it's hindering you. Almost like having belongings, having stuff. There's nothing wrong with that, but do you own your stuff or does your stuff own you?
Yeah.
You know?
So you also do some healing work. It seems like it's almost a hybrid of a couple different things.
It is. I was very fortunate to have a lot of different masters over the years that got some modalities, you know. You know, Chen Na to seize and control, which is, you know, like the hurting aspect, and Tui Na, which is manipulating like the same things for healing, like massage, right? So that's the avenue that would kind of go down. And then understand that the energy work and how this produces and how this goes, it just becomes, you know, more and more, you know. So I'm taking the same meridians I would use to put you down, and I open those up for healing.
Yeah.
And then, then of course, it's kind of become my own thing with the Shingon. And, and if you're wanting to, if I've got you on my table and I'm working on you and decide you want me to call in the spiritual side of this for healing, then you'll have an experience, know. And I literally, after I call, leave the room, because it ain't my business what happens after that.
Really?
Wow. That's your path, not mine.
Yeah.
I don't want he did this. No, I didn't. I just made the phone call.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Let you talk. No,
yeah, go ahead,
Yeah, that sounds really cool. I might want to try it. Well, that's awesome. So I guess one of the things that I want to ask people that I talk to is, what was, I mean, I guess you probably already talked about it, but what was your biggest paradigm shift in life? I guess the Kundalini awakening would probably be a big one. But
the murder of my ex-wife.
Murder of your ex-wife.
Yeah.
And that was recent.
Yeah. In March of 2018, she was trying to help this guy that she'd been dating. She was my best friend. Mm-hmm. That couple that we're still off and on. We're amazing. We just can't be in the house for too long at the same time.
Yeah.
But she's beautiful, and she got dating this guy, and they had she'd backed off when she realized that he'd relapsed on heroin. And to make a long story short, she would try to get some money to get him off heroin. When she returned back without the money, that's where the argument started, and he shot her in the head and took her body to our old house, to where we used to live, where she still lived, and stuffed her body underneath the garbage out there. And his goal was to kill my stepson and frame him for the murder. Yeah, I know, right? After she was found, and then they got him when he was manhunt for 3 days, and SWAT went in and he shot himself.
Mm-hmm. Like a coward.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, later on, the person that actually owned that house he was at was renting a room there to him, and so he kills my ex there while this poor guy's out of town. The guy comes back, realizes this horrible thing's happened in his home, changes all the locks, right? And then 3 days later, the guy breaks back into the house where SWAT goes in. He shoots himself, and SWAT shoots him too. So this guy walks away from this house. He says, I'll never go back in that house again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So they go in and clean it up and sell it. Right? So I happened to call my real estate person and was like, hey, it's been sold. And I'm like, was there any way I could walk through it? So they allowed me to go over and opened it up to let me go walk up into this place where the murder took place. And I played some music and, burned some sage and some holy wood and professing my love for her. And to him, it was like, how do I forgive you? How do I not make you a monster so I'm not tied to this in vengeance for the rest of my life?
It doesn't take your energy out.
Yeah, because I'm focused on something that, this rage that I have no place to put it.
Yeah.
And through this time, that boy's daddy reached out through somebody else, and I was not in a place to receive it. Mm-hmm. And however, he did pay for her funeral expenses, which he did not have to do. Because at the same time, he lost his son, regardless of how you want to look at this.
Yeah.
All right? So there's been this tragedy all the way around. So the very next day, I was making my grandfather's breakfast, and I'm walking through, and in that speaking to your soul kind of thing, Jesus spoke to me. Without a doubt, that's who it was. Mm-hmm. And I heard the question go through my head is, how do I forgive you? And then in my mind, as I'm feeling this, I see Christ on the cross, and he says, that's a very good question. Almost humor it, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a very good question. No, it stopped me right where I was at. And it was like, forgive them, Father, they know not what they do.
Yeah.
He wasn't always that way. He got on these drugs that allowed the possession of the other side to get in there and to do these horrid things.
Yeah.
That as a human, we don't have that type of compassion within us. We have to reach to the higher level to see the whole picture, to be able to find forgiveness in this.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to look at it for what it is. He was like a rabid dog, and she didn't take enough precaution trying to help him, you know, like the wild animal that he was, and this is what happened.
Yeah.
You know, if you had a rabid animal and you're out there, or if you got an animal caught in a fence, you'd put gloves and stuff on trying to get it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, or if it's a rabid animal, you're going to have to put it down.
Yeah.
You know, that I believe is my biggest paradigm shift, because of everything I had to learn through the Shingon, through the Kundalini. This was the application of it. It means nothing if you can't apply it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it has changed. People go, oh my God, how are you getting through all of this? I mean, you know, and I'm like, because I have to see it for what it is. I'm not allowed to get caught up in the emotion of, and I'm human, I'm going to have my feelings, I have moments that I break down.
Yeah.
But what do? That I have to stand up and go, this is how it is. Mm-hmm. Now what do I choose to do with it? Right?
Yeah.
I have to keep elevating. I have to keep moving, you know. There's not up and down. There's this side and there's that side. She's just on that other side.
Yeah.
Now, are there days that I wake up and I cuss that man for what he did? He didn't have to kill her. Like, why did you do that? She was trying to help you. You know, well, obviously there's something wrong. He wasn't in his right mind.
Yeah.
You know? So, am I over it? No. However, am I making progressive steps? Yes. Well, isn't that what matters?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's the journey, not the destination anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, there you go.
Yeah, that's it's amazing that you're composed and, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, I'm sure you're uncomposed sometimes, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even the fact that you can just talk about it is amazing.
Well, I mean, it's, you know, it's a reality.
Yeah.
To face it, I would suffer. To cover it up, I would drink or drugs or,
Yeah.
you know, or try to fill that void with something other than the truth,
Yeah.
you know. And then when you get a direct message from Jesus, I'll tell you something, that changes a whole lot of things too.
Yeah.
You know, it was a beautiful message, without a doubt. I mean, you know, it was just like, wow.
Yeah, you can't ignore him.
No, not at all. And it's beautiful. It was a beautiful thing, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just a reminder that you're not completely alone.
Yeah. And then you understand why he did what he did.
Yeah.
You know, this wasn't just one. This was everybody.
Yeah.
You know, why are you stringing him up? Because he's telling you the truth and he's trying to help you. It's bad for your business. You know what I'm saying? You know?
Oh yeah. Can't have that.
Can't have that, you know?
So, if there was one thing that you could tell everybody, like some little bit of life philosophy or a little bit of wisdom, what do you think you would want everybody to know?
Excelsior! You know?
All right, that's it.
Put a little Stanley in your coffee. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Have a little hope.
Yeah.
You know, do something. Be who you are. Quit being what somebody else tells you that you are. You know, quit being, you know, because it's not what you are that's the problem. It's what you think you're not. We came from the first breath. We came from divinity. All right? If you want to take it biblical, how did God create the world? All right? He spoke it. Mm-hmm. They believe in India that the Om was the first word, the vibration, the semantics, these sounds. They've even shown if you take these vibrations and put a plate in sand and you put these tones to it, they start making sacred geometric patterns. Yeah. That's the word becoming flesh. That's it happening right there in front of you, right?
Yeah, the Greeks called it the logos.
Yeah. So this is being produced by the word. Well, then how did he create mankind, you know? Adam, mankind, you know, Eve, womankind, you know? Lilith, we'll talk about that later. Yeah. Oh, he said that. you know. But anyway, but when you first to speak, then he got involved, formed him from the earth, then breathed the breath of life into him. Boy, there's something heavy in that. People go, where'd that breath come from? Well, it came from God, and he blew it into what? Well, he was a part of. He was part of. And what is the name of the I am? You know, people get so upset words. Some people say, the GD or whatever, like, oh, you're taking the Lord's name in vain. Because that's not what that has not to do. That is not it whatsoever. All right. It goes into the I am. As soon as you say I am, whatever follows that creates. I am screwed. You are now. Well, God hates me. That's no, he does not. When you're putting this, anything that follows the I am, do you want to create or miscreate?
Yeah.
Because you're taking away from your own divinity, and that's taking the Lord's name in vain. What is your name? The I am.
Yeah.
Don't take my word for it. Study it yourself. All I'm doing, it's like Bruce Lee said. Boy, he was way beyond his time. I go back and watch his philosophies and stuff now. Bruce had it down on a whole nother level. It's like a finger pointing its way to the moon. But do not focus on the finger, or you'll miss all of that heavenly glory.
Yeah.
Yep. Just see me as the finger, and then just look at all that heavenly glory. This is my interpretation of it.
No, that makes complete sense. Yeah.
Like, don't follow me. Don't put me up on a pedestal. I won't fall that far. I'm just pointing for your guidance. I don't know what you're about. I don't know what your life is going to be. I just know the Tao, the way, a universal truth. I show you that, then watch whatever it is that you become.
Yeah.
Give you the tools to do it. I'm still gathering some myself.
Yeah, I mean that's part of life. You have to just keep on evolving and growing yourself. And
I'm at a whole other chapter in my life right now. From moving to school to that murder taking place, my grandfather passing away, Master Jin Foon passing away. Been a lot of death, a lot of change. We have to keep looking at his loss and looking at his change. They've become Master Jedis now. They're in their Force Ghost form, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm evolving to the next level. I can't wait to see what this produces and what's happening. I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, all right, let's get the mind, body, and spirit where it needs to be, so I'm in a good place to receive it.
Yeah.
Why do you want to be in shape? So you can do stuff that you want to do.
Yeah.
That's just being physically capable of whatever it is you want to do, so get there.
Yeah.
If you're mentally in a funk, you got to get that right too. If your spirit's in a funk, get that right, and then open up to everything. And there is no time. Time is your biggest commodity, but you don't know how much you got of it. And thinking you have any is the problem. Yeah. There is only now. So whatever it is you want to do it now. Get up. You ain't got to do it all today. Just start making progressive steps and be present. Wait for inspiration to strike you, and then you'll move. But it ain't going to strike you when you're doing nothing. That tends to be when you've gone so far to the other way, is to when you've had enough, you'll do something.
Yeah.
Never want to wait till that happens. That's a miserable way to get going. I won't move till I'm evicted from my home. I won't move till it burns to the ground.
Yeah.
I won't move till this happens or she leaves, or if you're in a horrible relationship and you want out, but it's helping pay the bills. Have a leap of faith and get out. You'd be surprised how you feel once you start realizing your self-worth and value.
Yeah.
Yeah. Takes very little, just step by step by step by step by step. And all of a sudden you realize you've come a long way.
Yeah. Wake up one day and you...
And ultimately, be happy and know that you're the only one responsible for it. If you're making somebody else responsible for it, that ain't going to work, because at any time it can be taken away.
Yeah.
But if you're responsible for it, then you're generating it. And then you have the three highest levels that there are. Remember, the lowest is shame, the highest is enlightenment, the middle one's acceptance. So what are the top three? Love, joy, and enlightenment. Well, wow, wouldn't joy be the top one? No, it's not. There's a lot of people that love others but don't love themselves, and their well goes dry. All right? But if you get to the level of joy, which is above it, you have a never-ending well. You're part of the whole. What it say in the Bible, drink from me and never thirst again, because I'm in that. Like that one candle can light 1,000 other candles, never take away from its own flame. All right? Then enlightenment is being back in communication with the Creator, where you see it out how it is. That's what we're all seeking, is to try to get to enlightenment. Maybe you don't know you're seeking that, but
that's what everybody's trying to move towards.
Yeah,
in a healthy way, hopefully.
Moving to the light.
Yeah.
So
you think that kind of death of the ego is the first step towards that kind of thing?
Definitely the progression toward it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you're just heading that direction, you're gonna get something out of the way.
Yeah.
I came out of growing up. I had a lot of love in my family, but there's a lot of dysfunction too. And I was raised by my grandparents on both sides. My parents were not able at that moment in time. You know, my dad was doing his thing, my mother was doing hers, and a lot of illness on that side. So when I realized when I got grown that maybe I didn't have quite the relationship skills that I really wanted to have, it all started with a first book to go to the next level. Mine was Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus by Dr. John Gray.
Yeah.
You know, and that started off, and it's awesome. And I just kept going on. And there's the ones like the Four Agreements, and then the Fifth Agreement, and by Miguel Ruiz, I believe it's who does those books.
So, yeah.
You know, if you're wanting to start somewhere, these are great books to start with. That just to start getting you to understand how it works.
Yeah.
All right, don't try to come here and jump in on my level right now.
Yeah.
Come in and get trained.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll guide you to certain books, then read and come back and talk to me about it. We'll have great discussions. Then we can talk about it.
Yeah.
You know. But I think everybody needs to read Power versus Force by David Hawkins. That is a must. If you really, because it takes you from ground zero, it takes you all the way up to enlightenment.
Okay.
And all the other stuff will make sense.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So great book. You know?
Get your groundwork first, and then you build from there. Yeah.
And for any man that's out there right now that doesn't understand what a man is, because this world is completely demasculating, okay? Hear me now, believe me later. Pick up a book called How to Be a 3% Man by Coach Corey Wayne. Watch every video that he's got on YouTube. All right? If anything offends you, get over it. He's going to say everything, but you, as a man, you need to hear it. All right? And go buy some Wranglers.
Peel off those skinny jeans and get
Yeah, before you can't procreate anymore. Yeah, you know,
yeah, that's
that's
our sacred duty. Come on.
Gotcha. Learn how to change a tire, something,
Yeah. Well, is there anything that you wish we had covered, or anything that you wish I'd asked?
No, I'm just enjoying it, man. Yeah. I would say, where this is going out to, if you'd like to experience this and such a rare art, come see me in Hendersonville. I'm in the Holder Center where the bowling alley is. I'm on the end cap. Shaolin Concept Self-Defense, 470 West Main Street, Hendersonville, Tennessee, 3705. 615-228-1800. Once again, 615-228-1800. If I don't answer, leave a message. But come on out. The first class is complimentary. I want you to come out and experience what we do. And then you'll go through a pledging where let's see if you how bad you really want it. Or is it a passing whim?
Yeah.
And I will guarantee you will find people here that will become a brother and sisterhood that would help you move at 3 a.m. if you needed it. Like-minded and good people. No one's ever wrong on the floor, and we are so politically incorrect. It's a beautiful thing. Comedy's comedy. You can laugh. Nobody gets offended. We have every race and nationality here on the floor making jokes about each other and getting back to where it's the beautiful thing and funny.
Yeah.
Because if everybody was the same, how boring would that be? People are like a buffet. Go out and experience it,
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yeah. Well, that's beautiful. I like that.
No, it's a work in progress. But once again, that's 470 West Main Street, Hendersonville, Tennessee, 37075.
Cool. Yep. Shaolin Concepts School of Martial Arts. That's
Yep.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking with me and taking time out and
And, to add, look up Master Jin Foon Mark.
yes.
GINFOONMARK. Look up anything you can find. There's a great video documentary that looks like Quentin Tarantino made that video that was made back in the 70s with Master Mark. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got some flying hands.
That was my teacher. And just, if you want to hear stories, come here and get on the floor. That's real kung fu. And I'm happy and honored that I was so blessed to have that lineage, and all my instructors over the years that have been involved, from Craig Mitchell, who started it off, to Frank Thomas, who was my Shotokan instructor, to Sifu Chuck Gross, which is my Manus instructor, Dr. Winglock Ng, through my Shaolin heritage, and of course, once again, Master Jin Foon Mark, that just my Chinese grandpa. Thank you for everything, Sifu. That's how I feel. Randall, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh.